it's nearly the 5th of November in England, and I happened to come across a print about Guy Fawkes. So in England we say, remember the 5th of November. And it was the gunpowder plot. And what happened was, this is a real summary, the king in England was Protestant, having broken with Rome. And in England, many people remained as Catholics, and they weren't sort of killed or driven underground, but they were marginalised, and they were, for example, not allowed to marry into the Protestant royal family. They weren't allowed to be the king or queen, of course. And these Catholic people were annoyed and wanted to turn the clock back and get rid of the king and get rid of the parliament who supported the king. So what happened was Guy Fawkes and his accomplices packed the cellar of the Houses of Parliament with gunpowder. This is the old House of Parliament, which on the site of the current Palace of Westminster with Big Ben. And if it had been lit, everyone in the chamber would have been blown to bits, and the visiting king would have died as well. So they caught him and they tortured him so that he would tell the investigators who his accomplices were. The torture wasn't widely advertised, but he was tortured for a long time, and he did betray some of his co-conspirators. They were tortured as well, and I suspect the families were tortured as well, and then their helpers were found. So there was a huge reprisal. And in England on the 5th of November, on bonfire night, it is traditional in every town to make a huge heap of sticks and rubbish and put an effigy, a stuffed model of Guy Fawkes on top, and burn him. And every town in England, they do still do it. So you have this rather interesting situation where the Catholics still had land, and there was still Catholic aristocracy. It wasn't only in Scotland, for example. It wasn't only in Ireland, for example. There was in England as well. And the Catholics had to be quite careful with what they're getting up to. And that is a print from probably 1750, 60, from a book showing him being caught. I'll read it. The seizing of Guy Fawkes, who was going to blow up the Parliament House in the reign of James I, 1606. So that's a nice little print. And in the same bundle, we'll just go through the other ones. I don't know all the history. Edward V and the Duke of York and his brother are smothered in the Tower of London by Tyrrell and his accomplices, which assassination was ordered by the Duke of Gloucester, their uncle, afterwards, Richard III. So that is a murder to let the crown pass to someone other. This one here. The dissolution of the Long Parliament, 1653. This is from my memory after the Civil War, where Cromwell became a king himself. He called himself the Lord Protector and was a Protestant ruler. But afterwards, people realised half the people in England wanted the king back. So having killed Charles I, this man, having killed him, cut his head off, the son, who had been sent to live in France, or who had fled to live in France, the Parliament itself decided it would have to have a sort of reformation of the crown. So Charles II was asked to come back, and he was given much of his money back, and he was given the crown back. But they only gave him really half the power back. So the power was shared between the Parliament and the royal family. That is the situation still. That's quite a nice print as well. Okay, let's keep looking. Richard III appeases the rebels on the death of Wat Tyler in Smithfield, London. Never heard, I don't know what that is. Jack Cade in Cannon Street declaring himself the Lord. So I don't know what those are. Someone else will have a better knowledge of those. Another lovely print from probably the same book. The devastation occasioned by rioters of London firing the new goal of Newgate. That means burning the new goal. Sometimes not goal, jail. They often spelt jail in a variety of ways. It's there spelt as goal. Burning of Mr. Akerman's furniture, 1780. So there's a riot, and at the moment there's no one there to stop the riot, and they are burning the prison, jail, probably to get their friends out of it. Okay, next one. Execution of King Charles I before the banqueting house. The banqueting house is the same now, exactly the same. And there is a scaffold made of timber, temporary structure in the road. And this is the person, this is the king that Cromwell killed. He cut his head off. Killed the King of England. And his son, as I say, returned from France and took over again later on. Cromwell presenting a new translation of the Bible to Henry VIII, and a religious scene of some sort. The bishops are kneeling to Cromwell under the crucifix. So this is wonderful stuff. These pictures have a frame with a scallop, which is Rococo or sort of Queen Anne. The burning of St John's Monastery in London. Blood and his accomplices making their escape after stealing the crown from the Tower of London. He's stealing the crown jewels. There is a burning of a monastery. Okay, we'll keep going. These are just pictures of churches in London. They are remarkably similar to the churches you will find in places like Boston from the same time. Though the ones in Boston are made of wood and the stalls inside are made of wood as well. Edward the Black Prince conducting the King of France, his prisoner, through the city of London, 1356. Right, I don't know the history about that. So the Black Prince, Edward the Black Prince, the eldest son of Edward III, is leading the King of France, his prisoner, through the city of London, 1356. I'm surprised that there is no submission or humiliation. They are treating the King of France as a guest, and it is possible they want to sell him back to the French, so they want to look after him in the meantime. One last one. The ceremony of laying the first stone of Blackfriars Bridge, London, and the aldermen of the City of London. The ceremony of performing the Champions Challenge. Okay, so we've got some kind of game going on there, and we've got some kind of scene celebrating the building of London Bridge. Blowing a cannon to celebrate. So these are old engravings, which would have, as I say, originally been in books. They are absolutely incredible things. They have such a nice smell. It's very hard to explain. It smells like old-fashioned cash, not the sort of modern plastic cash. And they have a lovely texture. And each piece is on handmade paper. You can see how the paper's been put together. Okay, thank you.